Welcome to Learning English with Captain Binoy Varakil, Assistant Professor, Department of English, St. Joseph's College, Devgiri, Calicut, Kerala. I hope everyone is doing good and you learn English very well. Now, in fact, we have an opportunity to discuss one of the best plays of the world, one of the best plays written by one of the greatest dramatists of the modern time, the 20th century, and that is, of course, Harold Pinter. We are today discussing Harold Pinter's perfect, wonderful, absurd drama, which is, of course, an example for what is known as absurd theater, absurd drama, comedy of Menace, and kitchen sink drama. So this is one of the greatest plays of the world we discussed today, and it is written by the Nobel Prize winner, Nobel 2005, Nobel Prize for Literature 2005 went to the greatest dramatist, greatest actor, poet, scriptwriter, Harold Pinter, and the play is titled The Dumb Waiter. It is in fact a very important play, and this play is prescribed for the students of the English main, the undergraduate course, UG course, the English main course of the University of Calicut, and it is one of the chapters or one of the articles. It is a one-act play included in the collection which is for the modern literature course, and I'm just discussing the play Dumb Waiter, which is included in the course book English Blossoms, which is edited by Suja Matthew, Assistant Professor of English, Panampally Memorial Government College, Calicut, and this is in fact English Blossoms is a collection, it's an anthology of selections from modern English literature, and we are discussing the most significant play, that is The Dumb Waiter by Harold Pinter. We know that The Dumb Waiter is a drama which is a typical absurd drama. This is also a wonderful play which can be called a menace play, and this is also an example for what is known as kitchen sink drama. We are going to discuss all these different aspects of the play The Dumb Waiter in this video lecture. First, let us understand what the theater of the absurd is, or what literature of the absurd is. As we understand literature of the absurd, the term is applied to a number of works in drama and prose which have in common the sense that the human condition is essentially absurd, and that this condition can be adequately represented only in works of literature that are themselves absurd. So this is the basic concept of literature of the absurd. Human condition is essentially absurd, and that absurd condition of human beings can be represented only in works which are essentially absurd. Like, we need to have literature, an absurd literature, to represent the absurdity of life that the modern man leads. And we have, of course, absurd novels written in the very absurd perspective, dramas written in the very idea of the literature of the absurd. And when we think of the theater of the absurd or literature of the absurd, we have to remember a few very important works which led to the rise and spread of the absurd literature. And number one is the French play Ubu by Alfred Jarry. It was in fact published in 1896. Later we have the greatest novelist, thinker and philosopher Franz Kafka. And Kafka has written a wonderful novel, and that is published in the year 1920. The name of the novel is The Trial. Similarly, Kafka has also written Metamorphosis. So these two titles, The Trial and Metamorphosis, represent the kind of absurdity that is in the life of modern man, and these two, along with Alfred Jarry's Ubu are dramatic as well as fictional works which are absurd. And we have to understand the fact that this very notion of literature of absurd just emerges in France after the horrors of world wars, especially World War II. And it is just a rebellion against the traditional culture and literature. So understand two important things. Absurd literature is representing the absurd life of modern man, and number two, it is in fact a kind of literary movement which is emerging in France, in Europe, very soon after the Second World War, and it is a rebellion against traditional culture and literature. And we have to remember two other prominent existential philosophers, that is Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. So Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, the existential philosophers in the 1940s, viewed or confirmed or affirmed the idea of Alfred Jarry and Franz Kafka, and they believed and viewed that human being is essentially or an isolated existence. Each and every human being is an isolated, alienated existence. And this particular idea is again confirmed in the 1942 title, The Myth of Sisyphus of Albert Camus. And the same idea is of course asserted in the work of the French author, that is Eugene Ionesco, in 1949. And Ionesco's title, The Bald Soprano, is just having a wonderful quotation like this, which is in fact about the absurdity in modern life, or the absurd life of modern man, or the condition of modern man, which is rather absurd. Let us listen to the very words of Eugene Ionesco from The Bald Soprano of 1949. And this is the quotation. I quote, "Cut off from his religion, metaphysical and transcendental roots, man is lost. All his actions become senseless and absurd and useless." And this is very important. Man is cut off from his religious, metaphysical and transcendental roots, and modern man feels as if he is lost, and his actions, all the actions of modern man is becoming rather senseless, absurd and useless. And this is very, very clear in all the absurd literary works, no matter whether it is Ubu, The Trial, Metamorphosis, or The Myth of Sisyphus, or The Bald Soprano, or even Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot of 1954. 1954 Waiting for Godot of Samuel Beckett is another perfect absurd drama, which is of course having characters like Vladimir and Estragon, and the most important titular character Godot, who never comes, who never appears, and these two tramps are waiting for Godot to come, and we have the incremental kind of repetition in the play. Nobody comes, nothing happens, nothing goes, not okay, and they are just waiting. So the very meaningless condition of modern man is represented in a successful way in absurd theater, and we have people drowning in meaninglessness, and the life of man is of course very grotesque, and there is so much of suffering, and all the suffering and grotesqueness in the life of modern man is represented successfully in the absurd dramas. And Waiting for Godot is a wonderful project which is representing the kind of irrationalism, helplessness and absurdity of life in dramatic forms that reject realistic settings, logical reasoning and coherently evolving plot. So such a play is of course Waiting for Godot, and that is of course an absurd drama. And now in Waiting for Godot we have two tramps, Vladimir and Estragon. Similarly, two pairs of tramps, Vladimir and Estragon. On the other side we have of course Gogo. They are also known, Vladimir and Estragon are known as Gogo and Didi, and they are just waiting for an unidentified person, Godot. Similarly, in this play, The Dumb Waiter, we have two characters, that is Ben and Gus, waiting for Wilson, their master, their proprietor, the owner of their organization, to give them orders. They are waiting for Wilson to appear, to come, and this play is also a perfect absurd drama, an example for theater of Menace, comedy of Menace. We are right now looking at the play as of course an absurd play. After some time we will also look at the play as an example for comedy of Menace. Okay, so this play, The Dumb Waiter, has also a lot of features of the absurd literature. It is representing the isolated, alienated, meaningless condition of modern man. It is representing the absurdity that is in the life of modern man, and it is also representing a kind of theater which is rejecting realistic settings, which is just rejecting logical reasoning, and all these kind of aspects of absurd theater is projecting the irrationalism and helplessness that has just crept into the life of modern man. That is very clear when the character Ben is reading out news reporters from the daily, the newspaper. We understand that all these incidents, like the death of the 84-year-old man, like the death of, or the murder of a cat by an 8-year-old girl. Okay, when you read all that, when you listen to all these news reports, we understand that this is of course a play which is representing absurd elements of absurd drama, absurd literature, that is irrationalism, helplessness and absurdity of life. And the dialogue that is very frequent in the Waiting for Godot is, nothing happens, nobody comes, nobody goes, it's awful. Nothing happens, nobody comes, nobody goes, it's awful. And now we come to, of course, a discussion of the life of Harold Pinter. Of course, we have a very detailed discussion of the life of Harold Pinter in this text, English Blossoms, and I'm requesting all the students to go for a reading of the text. That is, of course, you must have a clear idea of the life of Harold Pinter. but I'm just giving you a very small and essential idea of Harold Pinter. As you all know, Harold Pinter is born in Hackney, East London, and he is born in the year 1930, and he just went to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, and okay, he is also a very important playwright who has written a number of important plays like The Room in 1957, The Birthday Party in 1958, The Dumb Waiter in 1959, The Caretaker in 1960, A Slight Ache in 1961, and The Homecoming in 1965. So his plays are noted for black comedy, black humor, and of course some of the plays just come under the genre comedy of Menace. And he is, of course, Harold Pinter is a great writer, and he has written, of course, drama. He's a playwright, director, actor, poet, political activist, and as a political activist, he has always been very, very critical of the policies of United States of America. And we have to understand the fact that the film, he is also a script writer. He has written the film, script for the film, The French Lieutenant's Woman of, the novel French Lieutenant's Woman of John Fowles. So John Fowles' novel, The French Lieutenant's Woman, is made into a film, and the script is written by Harold Pinter. And now we are looking at the play The Dumb Waiter, and this play is, of course, an absurd play. It is an example for typical comedy of Menace, and in this play we see the mixture of, it is a comedy of Menace because it is there is of course a mixture of a blending of comedy and drama. And now let us look at the play. I'm just giving you a short summary of the play, and afterwards we will just discuss the questions and answers in the course book English Blossoms, and my questions and answers will help you students. Okay, so we are looking at the play The Dumb Waiter, and we have to understand the fact that this play is also an example for the genre called kitchen sink drama. Kitchen sink drama. And kitchen sink dramas are dramas taking place in very small rooms. There is of course a limited space, and the entire action of the play will take place in that small space, which could be something like a kitchen, which could be something like a kitchen sink, and we have very few characters, very few incidents, and there isn't a kind of development of the plot. We don't have anything like a beginning, middle, or an end. So the entire play is taking place in a single prison-like room, and very small dialogue, very few characters. All that is the aspect of the kitchen sink drama. And now we just come to the very play, The Dumb Waiter. So we have to understand the very meaning of the title, The Dumb Waiter. What does the dumb waiter mean? So of course the verbal meaning of the dumb waiter, the title, the dumb, dumb means, okay, unable to speak. Dumb means unable to speak. And waiter, we know waiter is of course a person who is waiting for taking orders from the customers in a restaurant. So we have one meaning, the dumb waiter. It is about waiters or people waiting to take orders. Okay, so dumb waiter. And they are of course dumb. They are unable to speak. They cannot speak anything. They cannot react and respond. They will only do whatever they is expected of. So remember the title, One side refers to people who are waiting on tables in a restaurant, like waiters. Number two, dumb waiter can be, of course, a device. It can be a device. It could be any device. Say it can even be a tray for carrying dishes, tea. Okay, and the waiters are going to serve tea or food from the tray. So such kind of a tray is also a dumb waiter. And in the play, the dumb waiter, it is just signifying what is known as an elevator, a lift-like device. And this particular device, which is of course something like a safe or a cupboard, you have cupboards, right? Is in fact a cupboard, which is just functioning as an elevator, which could be lifted up, and the entire action of the play is taking place in the underground kitchen of an apartment somewhere in England or Europe, in one of the, of course, cities of Europe or England. We are not sure about that. And we have this particular device in the kitchen. There are two men in this particular room, and we have, of course, a kitchen. There is also a living room, or there is a room in which we have two beds, and we have two characters, Ben and Gus, just waiting in the room. This room is, of course, near to a kitchen, and in the room they have all the essential furniture and other materials required. And we have also on the wall the dumb waiter, which is a lift or a cupboard through which things, tea, food, etc. is just passed to people in the higher floors or stories. Okay, so people from first floor, second floor, third floor can order things. They'll be writing down, or there is also a speaking tube, something like a phone, so in the room, so they'll be just whistling through the speaking tube. They will speak, and of course they will communicate, something like a phone, and they will give orders, or even they will just write down certain notes in a paper, and it will be kept in the cupboard, the dumb waiter, and that would be just sent down. And of course these waiters in the kitchen can just keep the tea and other things required, and it will be sent up to, of course, those customers in the higher floors, stories. So that is the title, refers to people waiting, it refers to the device. And next thing we have to remember is this, the very title, the dumb waiter of the play, just refers to, okay, it is in fact an allegory of capitalist slavery. So the title, the dumb waiter, just signifies the fact that this play is an allegory of capitalist slavery, in which the waiters have to show unconditional loyalty to their employer, loyalty to the organization they work for. And here this play is also a very typical menace play or absurd play, which is of course an allegory of capitalist slavery, where you have the bourgeoisie, that is of course Wilson, and the proletariat, the working class people, that is Ben and Gus. And now we just discuss the characters, the two characters, Ben and we have three characters in the play: Wilson, Ben and Gus. Wilson is of course the most important character, and just like in Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot, the character doesn't appear in Waiting for Godot. Similarly, Wilson, the character in this play, never appear. He is an off-stage character. Second character, Ben, and third character, Gus, are on-stage characters. We see them on stage. And what are they, the characters? What is the play about? So this play, The Dumb Waiter, is about the kind of violence, the kind of grotesqueness, the kind of irrationality, the kind of lack of communication and alienation and isolation that has kept into the life of modern man. These two, Ben and Gus, are professional assassins. They are professional murderers working in a big network of people, like this particular organization of murderers, assassins is owned by, controlled by the bourgeoisie character, that is Wilson. And when the subordinates, that is Ben and Gus, order, they just go to a particular city, a particular place, and they have a victim. It could be anybody, it could be a man, it could be a lady, it could be a girl, and they go there, they identify the person, they just kill that person. So these two characters, Ben and Gus, are professional assassins, murderers. So this play, remember, these two characters, the previous day they had an appointment, they had a mission to complete, and they went to a place, and it was their last victim was of course a girl, and they had to kill the girl. They killed the girl, and now very moment the mission is complete, they will be moving away from that place because they are professional murderers. They cannot stay there anymore. If they stay there, they will be hunted, they will be captured, arrested, and imprisoned by the police. So once the mission is over, they just move away. And there are people for, of course, murdering or completing one task, and there are many other tasks. So now they are also discussing in the play what will they do with the body of their last victim. And we understand that there are people to, of course, remove the dead body or do whatever is required. There are different branches for this particular big network of professional assassins, right? So they move from place to place. Now in the play, The Dumb Waiter, Ben and Gus, having killed their last victim, come to a new venue, a new apartment, and they are right now in the basement apartment, or rather basement room of an apartment, and it is of course very obvious that this is a storeroom or a room in near to the kitchen of a big apartment, and they have to, of course, now that they are in the kitchen, they have to make some tea or coffee or snacks for people in the higher floors, the other floors. Okay, now more about the play. So we see the characters Ben and Gus in the beginning, and Ben is of course reading the newspaper. We have Gus is just tying his shoes, but as he ties his shoes, he understands the fact that someone is playing some pranks, because he initially takes a flattened match from one of his shoes, and next of course he is taking a cigarette packet from the other shoe. And this type of incidents, which the mysterious incidents we have in the play, and Gus and Ben is very, very satisfied as an assassin. Gus, on the other hand, is not satisfied. Gus has a lot of questions. Why are we moving from place to place? Why doesn't Wilson come? Why don't we have all the good furniture here? Why don't we have better sheets? Why don't we have gas, enough gas? Why don't we have any snacks, no biscuit, nothing? So why can't we just go out? Why can't we have some light? Why can't we have some air? All these questions come from Gus, and Gus is a seeker of truth. Gus is a seeker of truth, and seekers of truth will be punished. Seekers of truth will be eliminated. So from the beginning till the end, Gus is raising a lot of questions. We see Gus and Ben talking to each other. Ben is reading newspaper, and Ben is of course reading a number of newspaper incidents. the death of the 84-year-old man, the death of the cat by an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old, and all this shows the kind of, this is irrational, and all these irrational incidents show the kind of irrationality and the kind of absurdity and the kind of uncertainty that has kept into the life of modern man. And they can continue their discussion. There is so much of silence. There is also, we also listen to the flushing of the lavatory tank. We also listen to, of course, the sound of the newspaper in the hand of Ben. Then we also hear the small dialogues of the characters Ben and Gus. As the drama progresses, we understand that there is some kind of menace, there is some kind of danger. Very soon these two are going to quarrel because Gus is raising a lot of questions and Ben is not comfortable with all the series of questions raised by Gus, and we understand that danger is lurking in. Menace is lurking in. One of them will, of course, retaliate, and we understand that the most powerful, the dominant character, that is Ben, is of course having communication, correspondence with Wilson, and Wilson knows that Gus is not a suitable character, not a suitable person, not a suitable employee for the organization. He is rather dissatisfied and discontent with the job he does, that is the job of an assassin, and he is going to be rewarded. Okay, so this kind of uncertainty, irrationalism, lack of communication we have in the play, and there is so much of silence, and the silence is, of course, silence is a feature of the plays of Pinter, because silence speaks, and the silence is filling, of course, the kind of violence that is going to take place in the play. And we know that by the end of the play, Gus is just shot and Gus dies, and it is his own colleague, his own partner in the assassination, all assassinations they have done, that is Ben is just firing Gus. So now that is the play, and now we will just look at the questions and answers of the play, The Dumb Waiter. We have a lot of questions in page number 135 of the English Blossoms. Let us look at the questions. Number 1, describe the setting of the play. And the setting of the play is, of course, the basement room in an apartment, and we have almost all the furnitures, tables, beds, and of course the dumb waiter on the wall, which can be just lifted up and down. So the setting of the play is maybe the place is, of course, somewhere in a European city, or in UK, or somewhere in Europe. So we have on stage 2 beds, Ben and Gus, Ben reading the newspaper, and this is of course a basement room. Nearby this the room in which the action of the play, we have a kitchen as well. Now, second question, the opening pantomime scene of the play. So the play, of course, is noted for the pantomime puppet element, and we have the 2 characters, Ben and Gus. They are waiting, and Ben is reading the newspaper, and of course, as they are reading the newspaper, or as Ben is reading the newspaper, Gus is tying his shoes, and of course all this action, reading newspaper, tying the shoe, looking at each other, doubtful of each other, all this is rather something like the kind of action we have in pantomime, or so this is mainly the opening pantomime scene, and the deeds of them, the act of walking, and the kind of being a victim. Gus is a victim. He is being befooled, he is being ridiculed, he is being satirized and just laughed at by his partner and the others, and that is of course causing so much of humor and fun. So that is second question. Third question, what are the news items Ben reads from the newspaper? Ben is reading two newspaper reports. Yeah, I told 84, not 84, 87-year-old man. The first news report is and the death of an 87-year-old man. An 87-year-old man finding much difficulty to cross the road. He is crawling under the a stationary lorry, a lorry which is rather stopped and which is in parking, and because there is so much of traffic in the road, he cannot cross the road. He is going under the stationary lorry, and the lorry suddenly moves, and the 87-year-old man is crushed underneath this lorry, and that is one news report that is read out. And the second news report that is read out is of course the cat, the death of the cat. It is very difficult to kill a cat, and especially children cannot kill a cat, but we read about an 8-year-old child killing a cat, and later we understand that the 8-year-old girl is held by her sister, her brother who is of course 11 years, and we understand that, so it could be that 11-year-old boy who killed the cat. So all these two incidents or other incidents in the references in the play refers to the kind of helplessness in the life of modern man. That is of course the upset element in modern world and modern life. Now we come to the fourth question, or rather the third question has a second question. What significance does it have on the theme of the play? The theme of the play is about the helplessness of man, or rather this is in fact an allegory of capitalist slavery, and we understand that we are helpless, so something will happen to us. Nothing is certain. We don't know what's going to happen. We can't trust anybody. Okay, so all that is just expressed here. So an 87-year-old man, he doesn't have anybody to help him. Similarly, this particular cat is killed by children. So all this is uncertain, and we never know that a stationary lorry or a truck which is rather in parking position is going to move very suddenly. That shows the kind of uncertainty. We think that we are safe here, but suddenly we realize the fact that we are not safe. We are doomed. We are just devastated. We are killed. We think that we are in the safest place, but we are not. There is no safety anywhere. That is the very theme of the play. Now, fourth question: what, according to Gus, is the only thing in the room? Only good thing in the room. And according to Gus, the only good thing in the room is the crockery. So now they have some good crockery, some strict crockery in the room, and that is the good thing according to Gus in the room. Question number 5: what did they quarrel over, or rather describe their quarrel over lighting the kettle? So now we have an incident in the play, which is of course they have to light the kettle and of course make some tea, and they are just quarreling over the expression lighting the kettle. Gus says it is not lighting the kettle, it is putting on the kettle. We should not light the kettle. He says that Gus says that lighting the kettle is just burning the kettle. No. So they just argue over the expression lighting the kettle, and that comes to a very violent end in which Ben is about to catch, or he catches Gus by the collar and he is about to punch him. It is becoming very, very violent. So there is silence and violence in plays which are comedies of Menace plays. Now we come to the next question, the sixth question: what is the assignment of Ben and Gus? So the assignment is they are of course in fact they are professional murderers, they are professional assassins, and their assignment can be murder somebody, but the assignment is of course rather mysterious. We don't know, they also do not know. So this is one thing: they are professional assassins, they are murderers, they will have to kill somebody, but they are rather unaware of their next job, and it is something mysterious. They may have to carry out something mysterious, that is of course murdering somebody. So what is the assignment of Ben and Gus? Differentiate their attitude towards the job and Wilson. So their attitudes towards the job they do is of course murdering somebody. So Ben is very happy and content with murdering people, but Gus is not content as an assassin. He wants to change his life. He wants to give up the job, but Ben is very happy. And their attitude to Wilson, Ben is very loyal to Wilson, whereas Gus is not. So this we understand. Wilson doesn't come. They don't remember when they saw Wilson, and of course they remember, right? But he doesn't come all the time. And Ben respects, and Ben is very happy to serve Wilson, but Gus is not. Okay, so we understand that Wilson is very busy, and their attitude, Ben is very loyal and comfortable with Wilson. Gus is not at all comfortable with Wilson. What are Ben and Gus waiting for? Ben and Gus are waiting for orders to come from Wilson. Their next assignment, murdering somebody. Who, when, where? They are waiting for Wilson to give them orders. What happens to Gus at the end of the play? Gus is killed by Ben at the end of the play. Next question, number 9. Do you think that Gus gets a premonition about the fate that awaits him? In fact, we don't think that we don't think that Gus is getting any Gus doesn't anticipate that he's going to be killed by Ben. He thinks that okay, Ben is of course loyal and a true friend, but it is of course shocking. The fact is very shocking when Gus is being fired by Ben. Gus does not think that he is going to be killed by Ben, but he of course knows that he is not very open. Gus knows that Ben doesn't communicate and share everything, but he has no premonition that he is going to be killed by Ben. Next question, paragraph questions, right? Bring about the significance of the title, The Dumb Waiter. We have in fact 4 points. Number 1, the dumb waiter. The title signifies, okay, the people waiting for orders. People waiting for, okay, somebody's order, request. That is the first meaning. Waiters. Okay. Number 2, this is of course the elevator, the device, dumb waiter. And these 2 men who are waiting, as well as this particular device, can't make any noise. And this helpless condition of the waiters not to respond and react and speak, and they're dumb, unable to make a sound, unable to speak anything. And that is in fact an assertion of the fact that we need people who are loyal, people who are unconditionally loyal. So this is about the kind of unconditional loyalty and duty and commitment that is expected. That is dumb waiter. Number 2, this is of course an assertion of the fact that this play, The Dumb Waiter, is an allegory of capitalist slavery. These 2 assassins, professional killers, are like working class people, professional, they are just like workers, murderers, they are just like working class people, and they are being controlled by the proletariat. They can never ask any question. They have to do their duty, no questions, nothing. And that is of course unquestioned unconditional loyalty of the subordinates. They are expected to not to question their authority. And now they are waiting, dumb waiters. They are waiting, but the person they wait for does not come at all. So that is and we understand that this is of course about the play. The Dumb Waiter is about the absurd life of modern man. The play is very successfully representing the absurdity, the kind of lack of communication, inability to communicate, etc. in the life of modern man. And now we come to the next paragraph question. Explore the relationship between Ben and Gus. So these two characters, Ben and Gus, are foils to each other. They are foils to each other. One character is developing from the other character. Both of them working for Wilson, both of them assassins, are foils to each other, and the character of Ben is just developing from the character of Gus, and we understand that Ben is of course a superior character or a dominant character because he is content and he obeys his master Wilson. He has no questions, yes, no doubts, and he is very sure, and he obeys. Ben obeys all the orders of Wilson, their owner, their proprietor, without any question. And Ben is a slave to the organization, whereas Gus doesn't like the decisions and the attitude of Wilson, their master. Gus is asking a lot of questions. He is doubtful about their profession, is doubtful about the assignment, the job, and is doubtful again about the mission, and he is not happy with the profession. He wishes to change this job. He wishes to give up the job. He wishes to live a better life. He needs more air, more light, more fresh air. He wants to go out. Now, as an assassin, he can only go out during night. He has to always remain indoors during the daytime. And all this is causing a lot of trouble for him, and he is of course not happy. And this is of course the relation again, right? Ben and Gus. Ben is more superior, more dominant, more powerful, and he is just treating Gus as a slave, or rather he is commanding Gus, is shouting at Gus, he finds fault with Gus, is ridiculing Gus, and Gus is not comfortable. Ben is comfortable under Wilson, Gus is not comfortable. Ben knows more, but Gus doesn't know anything. This is the contradiction and paradox. So their relationship is not a healthy relationship. We come to the next paragraph question. Paragraph question number 3. Discuss the theme of silence and violence in The Dumb Waiter. The theme of silence and violence in The Dumb Waiter. Okay, we know that the play The Dumb Waiter is an absurd play. It's an absurd drama. It is also a comedy of Menace, and when we discuss the aspects of comedy of Menace, we understand that we have the mixture of fear and menace, appearance and illusion, and of course silence and violence in Menace plays, and that is very much there in The Dumb Waiter as well. And we understand that these two characters, Ben and Gus, they don't have to talk anything. They don't have to talk anything serious about their family. They don't have to talk anything serious about each other. They are talking silly things. They are discussing the newspaper. They are discussing, of course, simple petty matters, and the matters they discuss fill the audience with suspense. The audience, they are very eager to know. There is so much of suspense, right? And the silence and the violence in the play is making the audience very suspense, and it causing some suspense in the audience. Audience are eager to know, yeah, there is something is going to happen, something is going to happen. These two will fight, these two will quarrel. So that kind of suspense and mystery, the silence in the play is of course causing so much of mystery in the audience. Audience to know these people are doing something. They are assassins, they are murderers, they are going to kill, they have killed a lot of people, they are going to kill many people. So there's something mysterious. Our audience, right, the silence and violence, again, they are fighting with each other, they are critical of each other, just shouting at each other. So there may be more violence. Audience is expecting more violence. Okay, and the audience is, of course, very eager to see what's happening. And there is always the prevalence of menace there. Danger is there. Ben can be dangerous sometimes. Gus can be dangerous sometimes. The threat can come from Ben sometimes. Threat can come from Gus sometimes. Threat can come from Wilson sometimes. So comedy of menace. And the uninhabited house, the speaking tube, the dumb waiter, the sudden sound of thudding sound of the dumb waiter, and of course the condition of these two slaves. All this is just making the themes of silence and violence all the more important. And now it is just the silence and violence is adding to the efficacy and impact of the play. And it is, of course, this is the kind of silence and violence we have in the modern world. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what will happen now. Today in 20th century, even in 21st century, of course, maybe we have so much of silence around us. We have so much of violence also. We don't know what's going to happen. We hear about, of course, a lot of antisocial, a lot of militancy, a lot of explosions, a lot of murder. All this cannot be explained. We don't know. Maybe we hear about an explosion in which 50 people died, 100 people died. We hear about the kidnapping of an aeroplane. Okay, we hear about the crash of an aeroplane. We hear about explosions. We hear about, of course, murder. Gun is used, bombs are used, knives are used, and we cannot explain, right? So the very helpless, uncertain condition of modern man is explained in the play, The Dumb Waiter, and the theme of violence is also very apt to the play. Now we come to the next question. Discuss the character Wilson. Wilson is, of course, a very important character, very powerful. This play is, of course, an allegory of capitalist slavery, and Wilson is very powerful. He is the boss. He never appears, and we understand the character Wilson through the dialogue of these characters, Ben and Gus, and we understand that Wilson can be very cruel. He is a very busy person. He has a lot of activities. He's very engaged, and his decisions will be very, very significant. He's a very cruel character as well. He don't care for others, and he has no communication. He doesn't communicate. He only gives orders. He does not communicate anyone because he does not trust others. He does not communicate because he does not trust, and there is lack of trust. He only orders. Okay, so a very cruel character who is, of course, something like a dictator, something like a very, very cruel character, very sudden decisions. We cannot explain. Anything can happen. Uncertainty anywhere, and that is Wilson. And Gus is not happy with Wilson. He is questioning. He is going to be punished for that. Now the next question. Repetition becomes a motive in the play. Discuss writer. So yeah, there is so much of repetition. These two characters. So we have a lot of pantomime scenes, a lot of comic scenes in which there is so much of repetition. And repetition shows, number one, the inability of the characters to understand. They don't understand. They are sometimes like fools. So they don't understand each other. They fail to decipher what the other person speaks, so they have to repeat. So the inability to understand, the inability to communicate is of course conveyed through repetition, and repetition is a force we have here in the play, because we have the presence of a very powerful person who is ordering. So that is again seem important. Okay, somebody is reminding us, do that, do that, do that, do that. So yeah, we fail to do something and the person is asking us, reminding us. So there is repetition because we have to do something, and that is again asserting the or affirming the presence of a leader, a boss. Yeah, so repetition is again the motive. Okay, and now we come to the next question, the dumb waiter in the play. That is of course the elevator. It is we don't know, the audience and the characters do not know that there is a dumb waiter. We suddenly listen to the noise and we understand the presence of the dumb waiter, and this is in fact a device, and these characters are just like devices. Okay, so you obey unconditional, unquestioned loyalty, and it cannot make a noise of its own, it cannot protest, it has to discharge the duty all the time, and that is the pathetic condition of people in the characters in the play. Next question, Pinter's language is poetic, elucidate. So this play is of course a play which is written in very small dialogues, very simple small dialogues. We don't have very long dialogues at all. So almost all the language is rather language is rather poetic. Yeah, poetic because suggestive. We have images there, lot of references there. Each of the words and sounds we listen to are signifying something, and we can say that Pinter's language is poetic. And now, why is Pinter considered a master of pose? Okay, so this play we have a lot of poses, a lot of silence, right? So Pinter is using pose because when there is silence, when there is a pause, the audience can fill the gap, and that is the reason. Audience will get a chance to fill the gap. So silence speaks, and silence is just strengthening violence in the play. So Pinter is of course a master of pause. That is of course we have in the play a lot of pauses and silences, and these pauses and silence is creating the play all the more mysterious, and suspense is filled in the mind of the audience, and the play is becoming a success. So explain with reference to the context. They don't seem to hold together like men, women, a looser texture like that. So this particular dialogue is taken from the drama where the characters Ben and Gus are discussing the victims of their assignment. Rather, they are assassins, and they speak about the characters or the people they kill, and to them they are just victims. Men, women, girls, boys, all people, right? They are just victims to them, and it doesn't matter whether the identity and the background of the person doesn't matter. That is the dialogue, meaning of the dialogue. Next question. He wanted a cup of tea. What about me? I've been wanting a cup of tea all the night. So this is about the context in which the elevator comes down, and in the elevator somebody in, of course, one of the flats above is asking for a cup of tea, and now Gus is protesting that yeah, he wanted a tea. The customer, right, wanted a cup of tea. I wanted a cup of tea all the time. That shows the helpless condition of these characters, right? Whatever be the material they have, they don't have much maybe resources to make the tea or anything. They don't have gas and all. Still, they have to fulfill the needs of the customers, right? So Ben does not show any anger at these things. He is happy with the job, but Gus is not happy with the job. Gus wanted to drink some tea all the time. He wanted some biscuit. He wanted better facility. And Gus' anger at the order from the other side, he wanted a cup of tea. Why would me? I also want. I've been wanting a cup of tea all night. The anger and protest of Gus. Now we have the essay question. Consider the dumb waiter as a comedy of menace. And yeah, we have to remember some 8 points when we consider this essay question. We will make paragraphs on these 8 points, right? So this is of course a wonderful dumb waiter is a wonderful comedy of menace because we have mixture of comic and tragic incidents in the play. Mixture of comic and tragic elements. First point. Number 2, we have entire action is taking place in a small room, prison-like room, and menace is rising from inside the room. Danger is rising from inside the room. Danger is rising from among the characters. That is second aspect. Okay. And the third is of course danger lurks around the corner. There is threat everywhere. Number 3, dehumanization of the individual. Pathetic condition of these two, Ben and Gus. Gus is angry at the dehumanization of himself. Okay. And that we have here in the play, dehumanization of the individual. We have very much of the dehumanization of the individual in the modern world in the play too. Next, I'm just giving you the points. You will elaborate. You will make paragraphs on each of the points. Next point is dramatization of alienation. This is a good play of the absurd play, comedy of menace, because we have dramatization of alienation. Each and every individual is an island. We are alienated. Even within the family, we are alienated. Even within the society, we are alienated. Even within very community and very office, we are alienated. We do not know what's in the mind of our colleague. Gus doesn't know what's in the mind of Ben. Ben doesn't know what's in the mind of Gus. Suspicion. And from suspicion, we have fighting, quarrel, and murder, cruelty. Next point. 5th point, helplessness of modern man trapped in the universe. These two are trapped in this particular network of assassins, murderers. They are victims of Wilson, slaves of Wilson. So modern man is also helpless. We are all trapped in the universe. Next point, point number 6, fear and menace we have in the play, comedy of menace. Appearance and illusion we have in the play, comedy of menace. We see that our shoe is of course good and we can wear it, but there is flattened matchbox, flattened cigarette box. Alright, next tranquility and chaos in the play. Then the characters are, next point, 7th point, unable to communicate, inability to communicate. And the next point, 8th point, victimization of the seeker of truth. Another aspect of comedy of menace. Victimization of the seeker of truth. Thus is seeking truth, he is killed. And next point, last point, comedy of menaces are allegories of capitalist slavery. Here we have Wilson, who is just like the owner of the 4 factors of protection, and victims, Ben and Gus. So this is an allegory of capitalist slavery. And now we come to the next question. Compare and contrast the characters of Ben and Gus. Ben is of course very submissive, and he is loyal to Wilson. He is of course an assassin. Gus is also an assassin, but Gus is doubtful. He has a lot of questions, and he is not happy. Ben is happy and content. Gus is not happy and content, and Gus is of course very upset how long he has to be in this organization. He's asking a lot of questions, and Ben is contented, satisfied. He does everything, and he is waiting for Wilson, patiently waiting for Wilson. Gus is not patient. He is of course impatient, and both of them are foils to each other, foils to each other. Ben is evolving from Gus, Gus is evolving from Ben, and the seeker of the truth, that is of course Gus, is killed by Ben, who is of course more loyal to Wilson. That is of course the end of the play, end of the discussion of the questions. Is a perfect play. Please read the play, understand the very implications of each and every dialogue, because this is a very good absurd play, a very good comedy of Menace. Please write down all these questions and answers and elaborate it. I have just given you certain hints. Thanks a lot for listening. May God bless you all.